and this is One News Now. Hundreds of repatriated overseas Filipino workers flocked to the Ninoy Aquino International Airport after being given the green light to go home to their respective provinces. Reporting to us live from the NAIA Terminal 2, we have News 5's Gerard de la Peña. Gerard, how's the situation there? Is it crowded?
Well, Sean, so many OFWs are lining up here at the NAIA Terminal 2 after the government announced that they will be flown to their respective hometowns after being quarantined here in Metro Manila. We've seen those lines as early as this morning after government hired buses ferried them from their respective hotels going here. The government said that they will be able to fly about 3,500 OFWs today, going to places such as Davao, Cebu, Iloilo, Bacolod, Zamboanga, Cagayan de Oro, General Santos, and Tacloban City. We've spoken to a number of OFWs here, and some of them said they have been in quarantine facilities for 2 months as their manning agencies were unable to arrange their flights and COVID-19 test results. There are also those who are lucky enough as they only had to spend 5 days in quarantine facilities, considering that many others are still waiting for their medical clearances for weeks. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration said the Transportation Department arranged the flights at the last minute. The challenge for authorities is to ensure efficiency of processes here, as OFWs were brought to the airport without any flight itinerary. The OFWs were only asked to line up and have their clearances ready, and then they will be directed to their flights. Let's hear it from OWA Administrator Hans Kakda.
Ang challenge is, well, as you said, the volume, again, yung calibration ng pagdadala dito, yung food, yung flights, making sure na everybody goes on board. Meron isang grupo doon na bukas pa daw yung flight nila, mga taga Dumaguete. So we will help them. We will most likely billet them overnight in a hotel.
Sean, we were able to secure some documents from the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, and that indicated that the kind of aircraft that's going to be used for today's flights are those that have capacities of around 300 to 350 passengers, but only about 150 passengers per plane will be accommodated to be able to comply to social distancing protocols. Well, Sean, we'll see how this pans out today, as I've seen a while ago that busloads of OFWs are still coming here to the airport as of this time. Sean.
Gerard, let's do some clarifications here. First of all, you mentioned earlier in your report that some OFWs only got to spend 5 days under quarantine. How come it's only 5 days? We all know mandatory quarantine is 14 days. How did that happen?
Well, Sean, as of about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the government instituted this measure called One-Stop Shop here at the airport. And that's where OFWs or tourists coming from abroad will have to be tested right here at the airport. And then the protocol there is that if the OFW or the Filipino passenger turns out to be negative from COVID-19, they can go home after 2 or 4 days after. But if they turn out to be positive, then they will have to be treated and they have to be brought to some treatment centers. Sean.
All right. As we know, of course, social distancing is still very much in effect. Is it being practiced, as you can see and observe there in the terminals? I'm assuming you're saying that because the planes, of course, are taking in passengers that are half at capacity. Will they be sitting 1 seat apart? How is that going to work out?
Well, Sean, we're not sure how that will be practiced when they are inside the planes. But I am not sure if you can see from where I stand here, the seats here are configured in such a way that the passengers will have to sit 1 seat apart from each other. And we've also seen that the passengers themselves are quite aware of the social distancing protocol. So enforcers here are not really having a hard time reminding everyone to practice social distancing. Sean.
All right. You mentioned, of course, and as we can see from your videos, it seems like uniformed personnel are actually manning the paperwork and the processes in there. How is that going, since these are not your usual airport personnel? Who are they and how are they doing?
Yeah, I think the personnel that you've seen in my video are the ones from the Philippine Coast Guard. Well, the process really here is once the OFWs got here, they are to present themselves to the Philippine Coast Guard personnel where they have to present some identification. And if ever they left their medical clearances, well, the Coast Guard can also have them printed for them. And then after that, they enter the security security here at the airport, and then they will be directed to the appropriate check-in counters depending on their destination. So that's what I've seen a while ago here, Sean.
All right. Is the government going to be able to, repatriate to their respective provinces all the, I think, remaining 24,000 OFWs still here in Manila in various quarantine facilities?
Well, Sean, we were able to ask Attorney Kakdak that question a while ago, and then he said that, yes, the government is confident that they will be able to fly all of those 24,000 OFWs to their respective provinces within the week, because they've said that air carriers are cooperative, and then they can do everything they can to be able to ferry these stranded OFWs to be flown back to their respective homes. Sean.
All right, that's good to hear. Thank you very much for that update. News 5's Gerard de la Peña joining us live from the NAIA Terminal 2. Meanwhile, here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The Bureau of Internal Revenue reiterates that there will be no more extension of deadlines for the tax filing and payments despite quarantine protocols. In an interview with 1PH, BIR spokesperson Marisa Cabreros said that tax collection dropped due to enforced lockdown measures. Cabreros also added that the government needs funding for its fight against COVID-19. And the Philippine National Police reports that an average of 8 people a day have fallen victim to sexual assault under community quarantine. Data from the PNP show that 602 rape victims were reported across the country from March 17 until May 23rd. House Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte, meanwhile, filed a bill seeking to develop, promote, and interlink government services and processes across all state agencies and corporations. Villafuerte says that the Philippines should get ahead of the curve in the new normal way in order to improve the ease of doing business. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. I'm Sean Yao, and we are One News.